Good morning, everyone, and happy Marooned Without a Compass Day. We're so excited to have you here with us today. My name is Angie Catalano, and I'm the marketing manager at Blender. You'll hear me again at the end of the webinar for Q&A. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the moderated chat in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen and just send me any questions that you have, and we will make sure that we get to all of them either live at the webinar or we will respond directly back to you via email. We're excited to talk to you about how to navigate B2B business development today. Again, thanks for joining us, and now I'm going to turn it over to Dacia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, and we are thrilled. It's kind of funny because Marooned Without a Compass Day, I don't think that that's really something to celebrate, but what I do want to celebrate is at the end of this webinar, you should feel like you've got the tools to really map out that plan that you need for 2018. So I think that's worthy of celebrating. And we really want to make sure that we are navigating business to business development because the landscape is changing. So we don't want to feel like this guy, right? You know, just not sure where we're at, not sure where we're going, and definitely not sure how we're going to get there. So before we begin, you know, we're of course talking a lot about strategy. So what is strategy when we're talking about business development and when we're talking about marketing? Well, for me, strategy is about maximizing efforts. So very often in the business to business world, what you end up seeing is there's sales tools and sales efforts over here, and there's marketing efforts over here, and marketing tools and advertising promotions, and then you've got customer service and some different elements, and they're all operating in segmented silos. Even in small businesses, you see this because when you're wearing multiple hats, a lot of times you have a tendency to shift and you're not looking for the ability for these tools and these efforts to be integrated. And what strategy accomplishes for you is leverage. So really, you know, it's about how do we build a foundation that leverages your strengths so that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And this is not just concept, you know, not just, you know, thinking for, educational purposes. This is truly central to growth. So when you look at the data behind what are the most critical drivers to achieving business growth, you'll see business strategy is at the top, and even in that top quarter quadrant, you'll see marketing strategy is up there as well. And one key thing that you're going to notice is that there begins to change into tactics. And so that's the other thing I want to mention in just a moment is what strategy is and what it's not. But why is strategy important? So of course we see that it's critical to growth, but also strategy is critical to reducing waste. So we want to reduce wasted money, wasted opportunities, and wasted time. Because when we have limited resources, no matter what size your business are, there's always a finite end to the resources that you have in order to have a stable, profitable business. And John Wanamaker, this is one of my favorite quotes from him, and he is a forefather of modern marketing. I mean, truly a pioneer. He knew what got people's attention and their loyalty. And even he was quoted as saying, half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half. And I hear this so frequently when it comes to marketing and business development in general. And we want to create tools where you know which half is actually working so that we can maximize that and again find leverage. So we were talking about what strategy is, and I told you we wanted to identify what it is not. Strategy is not tactics, and this is something that's very, very common. And when I say a tactic, this is the key. Strategy is the plan, the overarching umbrella that directs all of our different individual means to accomplishing that move. So tactics are the maneuvers themselves. So a tactic might be a webinar, it might be an advertise, it might be a prospecting, any different means of business development, whether you're cold calling, whether you're developing a new lunch and learn tool, or whether you're trying to find a way to reach the masses, those are all tactics, and they are all well and good. However, you need to make sure that you know what role they play in the overall strategy. One other thing that strategy is not, it is not checking out what your competition is doing and asking your team, hey, do you think we should be doing that too? Absolutely not. So if that's not what strategy is, how do you know what is right for you? What are the elements of strategy? So for Blender, this is how we identify, these are the key elements that we believe is central to a great marketing strategy. So number one, your foundation, your mission, vision, and values. Oftentimes in planning and in the busyness of day-to-day work, these can be not set aside, but a little bit forgotten. And we want to make sure that they are always held up as decision-making criteria. Number two, goals and milestones. Right? You have to know where you're going so that you can build the plan to get there. Number three, who are your buyers? We're going to talk specifically about how to integrate knowledge about your buyers into your strategy to help you make smart decisions and smart allocation of resources. Number four, audit your current situation and resources. So if we in number two, we're determining where are we headed. In number four, we need to figure out where are we now and what we need to have in place in order to get there. Number five, know your sales cycle. So understand the environment that you are doing business development in. And number six, maximizing your brand. So really optimizing the authenticity of who you are and how you go to market. And what we're going to do now is we're going to dive into each one of those. So if you guys are ready, take some notes now. At the risk of stealing my own thunder later on, we are going to have some pretty cool planning tools that are going to be associated exactly with these 6 elements. However, please jot down your notes. As Angie had mentioned earlier, we are going to have a live Q&A, and that's what I'm here for. So to help you really get some traction with your marketing strategy and accelerate your growth in 2018. So number one, your foundation, vision, mission, and values. So how does this implement into your planning? Well, as the picture shows, it's really about the North Star, the guiding criteria, the compass that needs to undermine everything that you do. So let's break down some of these semantics. First of all, the vision statement is always in the future, always aspirational. It is the thing that you will continue to chase to the end of days. So this is the dreaming aspect. If everything goes right, how did you change the world? What dent did you make in the universe through the existence of your organization? The mission part is how do you achieve, or not achieve, but how do you chase that vision every single day? How do you show up in the world? It's the doing piece. So mission statements are typically written in a structure where it's who do you serve, clearly who do you serve, what do you provide to them in order to make that service real, and what transformation can they expect because of your engagement? And then mission is everyone in alignment? Are we really fulfilling this in a day-to-day way and really achieving those transformations for your client? And then in regards to core values should be decision-making criteria, your true North Star. So any decision that comes, any opportunity should be held against your core values, whether it's hiring and firing, whether it's research and development, whether it's new business opportunities and evolution to your existing business. Do these decisions align with your core values? They should be functional and living aspects of who you are and how you drive your organization forward. All right, so polling question in preparation for the second one. What are your marketing goals for 2018? What do you want marketing to accomplish for you? So you guys can click on these. You can see some of the options. Do you want it to increase visibility? Do you need to generate leads? Do you want to or need to stand out from the competition, really differentiate so that the market understands you specifically better? Do you want to sell products or services online? Do you want to nurture the leads that you already have? Do you feel like you need to be building those relationships better before the sales engagement? Do you want to improve the quality of your prospects? Maybe you're wasting a lot of time on unqualified people that are not right for your products or services. Or another example is, do you want to attract larger or different type of clients? Maybe you want to position yourself in a new area of the market. I'll give you guys about another 10 seconds or so to weigh in. I need to cue the Jeopardy music next time. All right, Angie, if you will launch those, that would be wonderful. All right, so we've kind of got a balance of different things, but the one that really stands out is stand out from your competition and differentiate. So good news, we will absolutely drill into that. Increase visibility and generate leads, absolutely. Nurture leads, so taking them further through the sales cycle, attract larger, different type of clients. All right, excellent, good, improving the quality. So we will be talking about all of these, but thank you so much, because I want to make sure that I'm really tracking with you guys. All right, so back to our presentation. The second piece is about, what do you want to accomplish in 2018? Now, at the risk of not going deep enough, there is a lot of information on goal setting, and that is not what we're going to do, because that would turn this webinar into a 2-hour webinar. But the key is, when you are setting goals, they need to be SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. You cannot drive a plan, you cannot orchestrate a wide range of tactics if you are not crystal clear with a lot of specificity about where you are headed in the short term. So make sure that your goals and your milestones are in a SMART setting. And in regards to milestones, make sure that you know that you have set some milestones in regards to understanding that, and making sure that you are tracking to what you set out to do. So here's another thing, is you can reverse engineer goals. So sometimes you might set a very large goal, you know, the big, hairy, audacious goal, if you will. And it's easier for some people to ask, what has to be true to make this happen? Do you have enough people on your team, or the right people, or maybe you need to be introduced to certain key people? Those should be milestones, or those should be small elements of what you're trying to achieve. Do you have the right resources in place? If not, what resources do you need? Where are your blind spots? Do you have access? Now, access could be to, you know, a dream list of prospects. Access could be to certain amount of, you know, public relations and visibility. It might be credentials that you need. It might be engagement in certain networking circles. What kind of access do you need in order to achieve your goals? Or do you have the knowledge base? Is there something that, you know, when you look at those questions above, you don't know how to get there? And so, believe it or not, one of your milestones is going to be going and getting those answers, and that needs to be part of your overarching strategy and some of the milestones that you set for that. So SMART goals and associated milestones, reverse engineering what needs to be true in order to achieve these goals. Okay, the third element that we believe is critical for a SMART strategy is, you must know your buyers. For us, this is absolutely the #1 way to stop wasting money, time, and attention. You have to know your buyers. Every single business in existence was born from a desire to serve someone else. Your buyers, and I know this sounds like common sense, your buyers make or break your success, but very often we become so entrenched in our own knowledge, kind of the curse of knowledge, that we become so product and service centered that we lose sight of this key element of service that is absolutely critical. Your market will reward you through revenue and through profit because you're serving them well. And this is a key element of strategy, is what do they need from you? Another thing that you need to understand is Pareto's principle is at play. We actually did a review of ours last year, and when we were looking at our clients and our core ideal buyers, if you will, Ours was actually 85-15. So what I'm trying to get at is that 80% of your revenue and your success is going to come from 20% of your clients. And what the key is looking at the commonalities between those clients, getting very, very clear about why you serve them so well, why they love you, and what they need, and what it is that you do that serves that need, and then really funneling your resources into those insights. So from a marketing perspective, from marketing speak, we call these documenting your buyer personas. So for instance, when you're looking at commonalities that make up your ideal clients, you need to look at them as humans, not as a market, not as a group of people, not as people inside of a large concrete building, but as individual humans, and then speak to them to create marketing and business development messaging that is actually one-to-one, me speaking to you in a proactive fashion. So think about, what title do your key decision makers hold? What job priorities and duties? What's their career path? So you have context from where they came from. Income, gender, age, working hours. This can really influence when they'll engage with your marketing message. Personality, what do they enjoy? What do they like? Are there different insights that might breed some commonality between your brand and them? Their family, this can be associated with personal goals that might influence how they go about their job. Car can give a lot of tidbits into their personality and how they see themselves in the world. And you can see hobbies, goals, desires, challenges. What challenges are you uniquely positioned to overcome from them? And of course, communication preference. Don't be emailing them if they prefer a different sort of communication. Or if email is their key component, do you have a very well set and clearly outlined email campaign that serves them well and provides real value? These are all the kind of questions that you can ask and answer if you know exactly from a human perspective who you're serving. So, quick polling question. Do you guys have documented buyer personas? So yes, and when I say documented, I literally mean written down, and that your team can clearly reiterate who you are chasing and where your time, attention, and resources need to be allocated. No, they're not documented, but you have a very clear idea of who the key influencers and decision makers are, and they're a common part of your business development culture. Or nope, we are talking to the market about our products and services. We've never gone through this exercise. So I'll give you guys another second or two to answer. All right, let's go ahead and see the results. Okay, so quite even. So yes, we do have some people here that do have documented buyer personas. No, so about the same amount, but they know them really well, and then also no, haven't gone through this exercise. Okay, thanks so much. Let's get back to it. So for those of you who have documented them or have a good handle on who it is, let's talk a little bit more about where you can take that. And even if you haven't documented them, we've already given you some of that initial, the initial fodder of what you need to be thinking about in regards to buyer personas. Oh, Angie, can you help me get back to the presentation? There we go. Thank you so much. So, why are buyer personas important? Well, it's because documented buyer personas have been shown to actually really affect top and bottom line growth. On average, the data does support the Pareto's principle. It's actually a little bit more dramatic. 3 to 4 personas usually account for over 90% of a company's sale. So across industries and across business sizes, there's some truth to this idea that there's a small sliver of the market that is really responsible for your success. 71% of companies who exceed revenue and lead goals have documented buyer personas. And so you can see this is a best practice. And buyer persona-based content. Now what that is that is content that was designed with one very specific personality or profile in mind. So you are very specifically addressing content to their unique needs and challenges. Persona-based content is shown to increase customer engagement six-fold with cold leads. This is not even just nurturing people that you believe already like you. This is cold leads, and that would truly accelerate your growth if you can get a six-fold return on cold leads. All right, so the other key about buyer personas is it's about alignment. So when you know them really well, you can better answer, how do we track their attention? What do they want? What do they need? What do they fear? What do they like? How should you say it? What will resonate? You only have 9 seconds to get people's attention nowadays. And so when you know very specifically who you're speaking to, you are way ahead of the game in being able to attract attention. You also can go where they go. So this is about not wasting money and advertising dollars. So where do they get their information? Where do they go to have fun? This could relate to sponsorships or creating belly-to-belly sales engagement situations for your sales team. What are they researching? How do they make decisions? So these can help you distribute and appropriately allocate your resources in order to reach them. And also, how do you resonate? So answering their questions, understanding what they go through in order to make a decision, and pulling those insights into the marketing of your business and not just leaving the burden of that on the sales team. You can potentially create that conversation inside of the marketing funnel, not just in the sales. And so this will really create resonance. And what this does is it sets you up for success, because when you are already resonating and meeting the needs, their research needs, when they are looking into what are the potential options for my challenges that I face, you're setting decision-making criteria. So then your competitors have to actually catch up to you when it comes to the sales cycle. All right, so spent some decent amount of time on buyer personas, and that was on purpose, because again, I truly, truly believe it is the #1 way to maximize the resources that you have, is being very clear who you're speaking to. So #4, triangulate your position. So in order to know where you're going, you have to know where you're coming from. So to draw that line, you have to know your starting point as well as your end goal. And ironically, this is an easy one because we take it for granted, right? Like wherever you go, there you are. It's hard to audit your current situation because you're already there, but it is really important. So, polling question as a segue to this one. Where do your leads and your new clients come from? So, especially in regards to this past year, do they come from referrals from clients or referrals from friends in your personal network? Maybe social media, advertising, paid digital AdWords, current reputation or your position in the market. Maybe you are the one to beat, and so it comes to you naturally. Trade shows, prospecting, cold calling, other. What is your key? What's the key place where your leads and new clients come from? All right, let's go ahead and see the results. I am gonna have to start singing Jeopardy to you guys. Definitely gonna cue that up next time. All right, so we see referrals are really the bulk of where your leads are coming from. I love seeing some social media out there and prospecting and cold calling. Before I move on, it's interesting about social media, especially with the changing of the guard with millennials becoming a very significant portion of decision makers. It's interesting to see that, the response is that you are also seeing this change in trend where people are coming to you through social media. I love that. Okay, so let's get back to that. Now, the one thing about referrals is that we can drive them on purpose, but it's not a healthy marketing mix to only count on referrals, because there's an element of serendipity. So you need to look at where those referrals coming from. Can you do things that really cultivate and nurture those referral sources? Can you find new places from where your referrals can come from? So because the responses showed that referrals, I wanted to kind of give some of those to you Don't take those for granted. And also, you know, as well as I do, sometimes referrals can feel a little bit like hope marketing. I hope I get a referral. I hope this works. I hope my friends, family, network, and clients love me enough. I hope they remember me when there's an opportunity to actually refer my product or services. So be careful about that. So yes, we want to go deeper, but we also want to have a really healthy blend. So once you look at, so what I challenge you to do in regards to that previous polling question is go back and look. Audit your client list, audit your new, and really get clear on paper, where did those come from? So then we want to go ahead and reinvest, double down on what's working, right? And then also what we need to look at is where else did you spend? So before we move into that, so did you hit your numbers? So auditing your current situation. And there's two questions. I stole this from Keith Cunningham. He challenges us to ask this. What should have happened that didn't happen? And whether or not you hit your number, you need to be asking both of these, because what you don't want to do is if you had a major windfall that was a surprise to you, you don't want to take that for granted and accidentally place the numbers responsible for that serendipitous windfall into your planning for next year. Or on the opposite side, if you have the big purple gorilla that was waiting around the corner and you did not see it coming, we also don't want to have an overly negative point of view in regards to what we believe is up against. Is it something that has already been overcome and that we feel confident we can move past? So what should have happened that didn't, and what didn't happen this year that should have? And then what can you learn from this? So really do some thinking, workshop with your team, you know, what best practices can come from this and what insights can you draw in regards to what worked and what didn't and what might work in the future. We already talked about where did your business come from. Again, I challenge you to go ahead and actually document it and then be ruthless. Look at your spend and figure out what did not work and kill it. So before you kill it, ask yourself why. But it might be when you go back to your buyer personas that your buyer personas are not there. So draw some conclusions, and if you're not sure, kill the stuff that's not working. Be ruthless and really, really challenge yourself. Thinking back to those milestones, make sure that you're tracking your efforts so that you know that you are headed in the right direction, or so that you can adjust and be agile so that you can maximize your efforts midstream instead of, you know, heading out in strength and then all of a sudden losing, you know, the paddles or the oar or the engine that was really driving you forward. You want to make sure you know what's working. All right. The other thing, I would be remiss if talking about strategy, if we did not go in planning, if we did not go into budget. So this is going to be a little bit surprising for some of you guys, and that's okay. Maybe for some of you it will not be. But here, these are benchmarks. So you can see it's a survey of 3,000 US marketers. And so for business-to-business products, on average, the percentage of annual revenue is 6.9% spent on a B2B product. 8.6% of revenue is spent to market B2B services. And then you can see the numbers for business to consumer products and services are slightly higher. And that's pretty much the standard. If you are wanting to grow in the business to business world, the benchmarks are really between 7 to 10% for growth. Anything lower, you're going to maintain if you're hovering somewhere around 5%, and under that, you've got to be careful because you're really leaving the door open for competition. Perception is reality, and especially when there is a lot of opportunity in the business-to-business world to create impressive perception and really change market position, you want to make sure that you are prioritizing your business development enough. And it is a very common problem that we do see. Now, the other thing I want to bring up about spend is a lot of people have a tendency to be like, whoa, 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 but we've never spent this before. Now, I challenge you, ask yourself, is that true? Do you currently do promotional items? Do you gifts for prospects and clients? Do you do direct mail? Trade shows are marketing. A lot of times there's spend going on. It's just not aggregated into a single area, a single budget, and it's not held accountable to actual results. And so make sure that you do a deep dive on what are you actually spending, and also consider spend from a time, attention, and a money standpoint. So business development must be prioritized. It is a very, very big element to creating success or failure in the business world. As we know, 90% of businesses go under, they fail within 10 years. The average lifespan of a company in today's market is only 15 years. That's across all sizes. And from the first year that the Fortune 500 was launched and announced, 88% of the original Fortune 500 companies. So any size company not immune, and you've got to prioritize business development. You have to know, where is my growth going to come from? Am I staying relevant? Okay, so moving on, that's about triangulating your position. Where are you now? What do you need to accomplish in order to move forward? So 2 more elements I want to take you through. Knowing your sales cycle. Now at Blender, we like to use your sales cycle as a map, and it's also really important to connect it to the buyer's journey. And so to make sure that we have a cohesive strategy that addresses both. And so this is really where we get into tactics. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that now that we're going to start talking about tactics, that we know where they go, and so that we are maximizing the return that we get. So again, reminding you that the tactics are the actual maneuvers themselves, the individual modes or procedures or the tools, if you will, that you use in order to gain attention or trust or business from the market. So I had mentioned that we want to align the sales cycle with the buyer's journey. So let's look at, what does a buyer's journey? Now there's a lot of different models, but basically at the end of the day, there's some similarities, and this is I like this traditional model because I think it's still fairly resonant and realistic in regards to the process buyers need to go through in order to make a decision. The first is, do they even know that they have a problem? It's not awareness of you, it's first awareness of their problem and awareness that it is time to change. So there's the urgency. Now they do need to move through awareness to awareness of what their potential options are. This is where awareness about you comes into play. Then they need to move into interest. The interest in solving that problem and interest in the potential solutions that are available to them. So driving the interest towards one key area as the realistic solution. Then comes desire. Okay, so I have researched my problem, I've researched my options. The options are looking good, so I'm feeling very confident that this is the direction I need to go into. Now I'm starting to see some proof, whether it's from demonstrations or from case studies or friends and referrals that told me, yes, this is a great, my thinking is legitimate and that this is a great idea for me to pursue. Now I'm hungry to solve this problem. I don't want this problem anymore. I'm really ready to move forward. And now I'm looking at who is the best to go with. So I desire a solution. I am actively moving towards that. And now I'm looking for the best possible partner to do that. And then, of course, the final piece is action. I am going to physically provide my attention, time, and money to you in exchange for a solution to my problem. Okay, so we've talked about the sales cycle. And we'll go a little bit more into that. And we've talked about the business journey, the buyer's journey. So what does it take for this buyer's journey to actually happen? Well, here's what we know based on data. We know it takes 7 to 13 touches to get a lead. So that top part of the funnel, awareness to interest, 7 to 13 touches to get a lead, 5 to 12 touches to get a sale. So moving through that desire and action. And we also know that in the business-to-business decision, the business-to-business world, on average, there are 8 decision makers per decision. So when you're looking at that math, 7 to 13 touches, 5 to 12 touches to get a sale, that's about 12 to 25 points of engagement times 8 decision makers. How much is that? Yeah, it's a lot, right? So this is why the alignment between sales and marketing and knowing your environment is critical. So how do we now weave all of that together? So when we're looking at the sales cycle, the first portion is their attention. As I mentioned earlier, you have 9 seconds to get their attention. So in generate interest, your goal is to simply get their attention and to start moving through those 7 to 12 touches. So here's a small list of potential ideas and things, areas that you map inside of the generate interest. Search engine optimization, social media, advertising, direct mail, cold calling. Sometimes this is definitely where your referrals live, signage, public relations, any way that someone becomes aware that you exist in the call to action is give me your attention. So buyers are not typically interested at this point in giving you anything beyond that. They're still just trying to consider, do I really want to invest even a little bit of time into looking at this? And they're not sure yet. So it's just attention, grab their attention. All right, the second portion about how do you identify tactics, where the tactic goes, is we're building trust. So it's the section where they are now into the consideration stage and they're starting to desire the product and they're trying to figure out what the best solution is. And the call to action is always time. So now that they are desiring this, we want to begin the handoff between marketing and sales. So this is a lot of proof, a lot of trust building and showing that who you are, who you say you are. So some examples are your website, their case studies, their videos, anything that asks the buyers to spend more time on you. And so moving through the trust portion. And then the final portion in mapping the sales cycle and the buyer's journey is this last close deal portion. So this is truly the sales piece, but marketing can still support that. So as the sales team is going through the engagement process of asking for their money and making the final action commitment, different things can be offers. It can be the format of your proposals or your RFPs. It can actually be your presentations for pitches. It can even be the clarity and the organization around your closing documents, but you need to know what is it that your buyers need in this final portion of the sales cycle in order to say yes to you, okay? So this is about mapping your opportunities so that you are crystal clear how every single tactic should work in regards to your strategy and the direction that you're headed. All right, so that was number 5, knowing your sales cycle and really understanding the business environment that you're selling in. And the final one is maximizing your brand. So this is about being authentically you. You have to have a clear idea of who you are and how you show up as different in the world. And your brand is how you are perceived. It is the position and the emotion that you hold in the mind of your audience. So what do your ideal buyers believe about you? And then can you ramp that up? Can you be enjoyable to work with? Are they expect such amazing professionalism that you are just a breeze to engage with? Are you fun? Do you make them smile? Do you warm up their day? Can you create excitement? Do you bring insights that others cannot bring? Do you breed loyalty and friendship where it feels really, really familiar? What is it about how you show up in the world that makes you unique, and can you take that to another level? The reason that brand is so important is because this is the world we live in. So many brand impressions, so many advertisements, so many marketing tools and things to choose from, and so many people out there are looking for solutions. But the good news is, if you have a smart strategy, you don't have to worry about all of this, because finding your few ideal buyers out here, they're only going to resonate with what they are already looking for. So the majority of this is going to go by as just scenery, but if you know how to authentically and appropriately serve them, they will hear you and respond to you and celebrate in your success and the success that you bring them by being an excellent partner. So no more of this. Not sure where you're at, not sure where you're headed. We want to make sure that you have a specific plan and a strategy that maximizes all of the spend, time, attention, and money that you are doing in order to drive your goals. Yes, it takes time, and it is so worth it because we, again, are looking for leverage. So earlier in the process, I had told you we've got some freebies, and the awesome news is you don't have to do anything in order to get these. You've already done it. You already signed up for the webinar, and we wanted to say thank you so much for spending your attention and your time with us, and we believe that prosperity for all is a great thing because all ships lift with the rising tide, as they say. So some of the freebies that you can expect in the follow-up email from us are a marketing strategy workbook. So these 6 elements that we believe that you need to have in order to build a very effective marketing strategy and navigate the B2B business development world. We're going to have questions that you and your team can go through together. We are also going to provide resources to a mission and vision guide. We know that this is a really challenging piece. Sometimes it's hard because you're so close, forest for the trees, you're so close to your product and service. It can be a very difficult thing to really clearly identify these. So we're going to give you resources about that. And then a buyer persona worksheet so that we are not wasting money or opportunities. So really helping those of you out there that haven't documented them to go ahead and put it on paper, because documentation of buyer personas helps you scale and grow your team. And so when your strategy really starts gaining traction, your team is going to need to grow, and you want to have things in place that continue your success. So look for that follow-up email. The other thing is that we are going to offer a special free strategy session. So what I encourage you to do is you'll take the planning guide that's coming your way, and you just need to email Christia. You can see her email is here, and schedule a free session to actually go through that strategy with me. So we are going to talk about, are there any blind spots? We're going to answer your specific questions in regards to your company and your goals and the environment that you specifically are selling in, and make sure that you've got all the elements for successful 2018. Now, we will not be taking anybody after the 10th. So we'll be scheduling those through the end of the year, but we're only taking appointments up until Friday. And so then you'll be able to schedule them later in the year, but we do close that this coming Friday. And then we will record that session. So you'll receive a free recording of that. And in addition, you'll be able to send us some of your current efforts so that we can audit them and look for opportunities to optimize and maximize what you're already doing. So use the subject line, give me a free strategy session, and email Christia before Friday in order to book a free session with me before the end of the year for your 2018 planning. All right, and then if any of you feel like you want to do a deeper dive, we really want a guide to take you through all 6 of these elements. We do have structured workshops. They are so fun and exciting. And so, for instance, how would you know if these strategy workshops are for you? Well, if you get exhausted wondering where your next clients are coming from or how you're going to penetrate a new area of the market, if you want to stop hoping and start doing the right thing, stop hoping this is working. If you're tired of brainstorming and dreaming and ready to actually see the vision of the future come to fruition faster than it feels like it is now, if you're ready to grow faster, if you're ready to gain traction and feel confident in your business development efforts, if you're ready to gain leverage, optimize your current efforts, make more money, have more fun, then these workshops are for you. A key element is that this gets your team on the same page. So it really breaks down the barriers between sales and marketing and leadership, and make sure that you guys are all truly, truly driving with a concerted, coordinated effort to create a crescendo in the market that gives you more explosive growth. And then the final piece is I invite you to follow us online. So you can find us on Twitter at Blender B2B. You can find me on LinkedIn, so Dacia Coffey, and you can also follow us on Facebook. We have a lot. We distribute a lot of free resources, free articles, videos, training sessions. We have a number of webinars that we do throughout the year, so you can find all of those resources at these places. And we always invite feedback, so please feel free to let us know what you thought. If there were questions that we did or didn't answer, let me know. So I am looking over here, and I believe I see that a few questions have rolled in. So Angie, what have we got? It looks like I can see a few questions.
Yes, I think we have time for about 3 or 4 questions. So one of the questions that came across was specific to buyer personas. And the question is, what if we have our buyer personas written down, but we're not really using them effectively?
Okay, perfect. So, first of all, I wonder what you mean by not using them effectively. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw a few assumptions, if you will. And if you want to have an offline conversation, please feel free, to connect with me, Dacia at themarketingblender.com. And so I'd love to address those with you. But we want to use buyer personas to make sure that you're doing smart messaging. So it really boils down to that resonance. So are you addressing what they are scared of? Most people make decisions in order to overcome a problem and to minimize a fear of risk or a fear of trouble, not so much to achieve a goal. And so when you market in that very initial stage and your messaging is about overcoming challenges, and if you mirror what they are thinking and feeling, oftentimes that is the most effective introductory messaging that you can do, because then they realize that you are specializing in them. So it should enable your messaging to get a lot more concise and succinct, so that you're not constantly talking about we or us or what you perceive as your differentiation, your products and service. You need to be addressing their pains and their goals, but primarily their pains. So that's another piece. Another element is, have you mapped out the decisions that they need to make, the small little triggers, the buying triggers that need to happen? So what is the first thing that they're researching? What is the objection, or what is the problem, the challenge that you need to overcome? I'm messaging to that. Can you create a tool that really is just about their problem? And then once they are in the consideration stage, what are common objections that you have? What are other options or solutions that they might be looking at? Can you provide a framework and content and your social media and your sales cycle where you can help them make a good decision and see the decision framework more clearly, you versus other solutions, for instance, or how to identify return on investment or ways to minimize risk inside of that? So look for that. And then the final part is, take a look at your sales cycle and ask yourself, where are we struggling? Do you not have enough leads coming in? If not, then you need to really look at investing in that top line awareness type of message, and it needs to be based on your buyer persona. Or do you have a lot of leads coming in, but they're not qualified? So you can use buyer personas, and you can actually structure your messaging to name them, or to have certain criteria that then allows unqualified people to fall away, not wasting their time or yours. So you can identify money benchmarks or number, certain profiles of companies or organizations or people, so that your decision makers know, oh, they're talking specifically to me. So there's ways that you can do that with buyer personas. Or if you've got a lot of leads and you feel confident that you're taking them through the objections, are you losing them at the close? And so what kind of things do they need to feel confident in you, and can you invest there? So those are just some examples of how to use buyer personas, but truly The end-all be-all question is, what did they need in each section of their buyer's journey, and where are you losing people in your sales cycle, and then match the investment there. All right.
Okay, I've got two questions related to marketing budgets. One is, what do you do if you have a small budget?
So this is all about really culling everything down, just cutting the fat away. So it goes back to buyer personas. I know I'm going to, beat the drum on this one, but take a look, as we talked about, what went well last year, and can you make some correlations between where your buyer personas are and the areas of success that you had, and then maximize those resources. Also, in regards to looking where you're going, if you realize that it's only a handful of large clients that you're suited to serve, but that will change everything for you, well, then structure your spend around only going after those game changers, right? Make decisions completely based on the game changers. It's not to say that when you get other projects, other potential clients in, that you won't serve them well, you will. But if you're talking about limited resources, you need to spend in a careful and deliberate manner in order to put those resources behind the things that will absolutely change the game for you. And it's usually a small, I think it's usually normally much smaller than people see. Like when we're going through planning sessions, I often find that our decision makers, our leaders of our companies that we engage with our clients, they're surprised that it doesn't take an entire market to really transform their growth and create a lot of traction. So you can get some clarity around where to put your money if you get clear about what has to be true for you to hit those goals that you've set for yourself.
Okay, and the second piece to the marketing question is, do you have any tips on how to create a marketing budget?
Cool. So first of all, find out where you're spending right now and try to get clear about what your real marketing spend is. So audit that. I mentioned it earlier, promotional items, thank yous, gifts, trade shows, networking. What are you doing? And try to group all of that together. And then look at where your business came from. Is your spend matching up with where it's actually coming? If you are getting a lot of referrals, are you investing in referrals, or is that happening on accident? Because we might want to move some of your spend over to that side. So we really want to get ruthless, to be perfectly honest, about, are you spending in regards to your priorities? Because really, all I ever have to do to know what your real priorities are is if I could see your income statement or your expenses, really, and if I could see your calendar, I would know exactly what you prioritize, because whatever you spend your time and your money on is what's actually important to you. And so we don't want to be making a prioritization blunder by not doing it on purpose.
Okay, and I think we have time for one more question. So the final question for today, and we will email any of you that we did not get to your questions so that we can answer those via email. That question is, we've never really focused on marketing before. How do we get started?
So the biggest piece for me is finding out what in the sales cycle piece, let me back up here, what area are you not being successful in? Like where's your problem? If you are getting, again, if you're getting a lot of leads, then we don't need to spend on attention. If you have plenty of leads, are you losing them in the building trust segment? Like do they all of a sudden go really cold on you after the initial meeting or two, like well before the proposal? Or maybe you're losing people after the proposal, or you're not getting the ratio of wins on your RFPs, or, so is it a closing piece. So that's always my first direction is, okay, where's the pain for you? And that can help you determine, do we spend in the generate interest section? Do we spend in the proof, the building trust, the gaining time attention, or do we spend in the close the deal section? So that's always my first step. And then my second step is make sure that you're spending on your buyer personas. So once you identify that, make sure that it is completely focused on who you are trying to reach, so that you're picking smart tactics and smart distribution methods in order to resonate with the people that really change the game for you. All right. I believe, as Angie said, that's going to be our last one, so we want to respect your time. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please make sure to look for that follow-up email. It'll show up in your inbox within the next 48 hours. And if you are interested in scheduling that free session, please email Christia by Friday, and we will set that up for you this year to make sure that you are set up for success in 2018. So happy Marooned Without a Compass Day, and let's get off this desert island and really find a way to navigate successful business-to-business development. Onward and upward.